So a year or two ago I made a game project called Rocky Rocket and I wanted to recreate it in a few hours. Which I did. Hello everyone, my name is Bucky Blue and welcome to a new video in which I'll be recreating my game called Rocky Rocket in Unreal Engine 5. So Rocky Rocket originally was made in Unity, but you know, after what happened, I decided to make it in Unreal Engine 5. So I started off by hopping into Canva and making a rocket ship sprite after having looked up some references and fumbling around with shapes and colors I managed to come up with. Isn't it so beautiful? After that was done, I started importing it into my Unreal Engine 5 project and started working on the first blueprint, setting up the base for the rocket ship. After doing my amazing setup, I went to ChatGPT because I have no idea what I am doing. So I asked ChatGPT if it can make a 2D sprite look at my mouse. It gave me an answer, so I tried it out, and you guessed it. It didn't work. Yippee! So after a while trying out some different things myself and fumbling around with the nodes, I eventually ended up getting this. Yeah, I don't know if the person inside is okay, but it's the first step. So I went back to ChatGPT to ask if they could explain it even simpler, starting from the event tick, and they tried explaining it to me. So I tried it again. It eventually started working somewhat. Yeah, not quite, but almost. Ah, there we go, it finally works. After the rotation was done, I wanted to do the movement, which I started off by doing projectile movement. Which, yeah, it did not quite work well. Then I thought I almost had it, and then I did, yippee. Oh wait, that is not what I want. So if you don't know, in the original Rocky Rocket, the rocket doesn't have a constant velocity. So it doesn't have a constant speed, which gives it the feeling of pulling something heavy, which I also want to recreate in my game, which I managed to eventually pull off by using the floating pawn movement component, setting a max speed, an acceleration, a deceleration, and a turning boost, and using the add movement input nodes to handle all of the movements being done. After tinkering a bit with the floating pawn movement values, I eventually got somewhat what I wanted. Now that's more like it. After the basic rocket movement was done, I started working on a map. By selecting the modeling mode and using the cube grid tool, I was able to make a map really easily. Great. So now we got a map, we got movement working, but it does miss something. Oh right, the particles. So by using the Unity particle system, by using Unreal's Niagara system? Should have just called it particle system, but oh well. And by watching some tutorials on how to use it, I eventually ended up getting this. I'm pretty happy with it so far. And the particles even collide with the walls. Sweet. Also, I managed to fix an issue. The issue being, whenever I used post-processing, and I used bloom for example, it should have given me shine, but the camera makes it look like it's getting used to the shine. By creating a global post-processing volume and going to the exposure, I was able to set the min and max EV to 1, which makes it unable to get used to the eye. Or the camera in that case. Now isn't that looking much better already? But now you're just able to fly around without dying, which kind of removes the challenge from the game. So then I used a default confetti effect because I'm too lazy to recreate the whole animation, and made it play out whenever the player touches the walls. So then I went on to do the respawn function, because otherwise if you just die, you just don't respawn. So what I did is whenever the player dies, it waits 1 second and then respawns it back at the original position. Also, after that was done, I tried editing the map and it kind of deleted itself, so I had to redo the whole map again. After that was finally done, I started working on the start game UI, which is basically just a text saying press left mouse button to play, but the functionality still had to be made. Because you don't just start playing it, you have to wait until you press the left mouse button and then the game starts. I eventually managed to do this and then started working on the original crosshair and finger. Now what is the finger, you may ask? The finger is basically just a cursor. That's it. But yeah, I basically started working on the crosshairs, hopping back into Canva, and basically ended up making this. And then I did the same thing for the finger. I basically then implemented them into my Unreal Engine project, and then got them working. Then I went back to working on functionality, and remembered I forgot to do something really crucial. The slow-mo effect. It's not really slow-mo, it's more of giving the rocket more control and slowing down the ship. And a bunch of post-processing effects. But it still had to be done. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's much better. Also, eventually the particle collision wasn't working properly anymore, but I ended up fixing that. Also, here's an amazing showcase of all my so clean, so not messy code. Yeah, I really need to start cleaning this up. Also, whenever you're using the slow-mo effect, there's supposed to be a sort of bar, sort of progress bar above the player. It indicates how much boost you have left and how much you can use it. I eventually got this working, and this is how it looks. Now most of the gameplay is basically done, but now I just need to add a finish line, because you know, you should be able to finish the game. Which I did, and I also added some UI to show whenever you complete the game. Yes, I know, it looks really simple, But don't forget, I make this game in a few hours. But yeah, here it is, the finished result. I'd say I'm pretty happy with it. It's not as beautiful, perfect like the original game, but it still works and looks kinda the same. But for a few hours, this is pretty good. Now, would you like to play my game for yourself? You can try it out. I'll leave an itch.io link, and I'll also leave the link for the original Rocky Rocket game so you can compare it to one another. You can find these links in the description of this video. Now, do you think I should add anything? Maybe more levels, some better UI, or whatever I should make for a next game? Leave it down in the comments below. This was just for a fun project, but who knows, I could do more in the future. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye!